I ran into this firsthand way back in the day, back in the Red River when it first flooded. We'd go in there and fish, and you'd throw spinnerbait. You know, everyone's throwing spinnerbait. The guys that caught them used a giant blade, and there was just simply because of the size of the bait fish in there. The gizzard, shad, and some of the bigger fish in there was what those bass were eating. They didn't want a normal thing. The only difference between success and failure was the size of the blade on the spinnerbait. So to me, that really kicked it in that now I need to understand exactly, you know, the parts of a spinnerbait. You know, that's why I don't have one spinnerbait. I got 1,000. I used to have a little box, a big box actually, and people said, man, I think you could build a car out of that thing because you got so many parts. You got blades and swivels and arms, and I could make any spinnerbait in the world as fast as I wanted to. Different color blades, white, chartreuse, orange, red, just because I want to have some options, and I've seen it make a difference. So the history of the spinnerbait started with that. That's when it really became a big deal, that you can actually change something on one bait and catch way more fish than anybody else. A quick story back in the day, Jimmy Houston, probably all of you know who Jimmy Houston is. He was one of the pioneers of spinnerbaits. It's all he threw, literally. You know, it was a springtime term, he threw a spinnerbait. It was a fall term, he threw a spinnerbait. It was a summer term, he threw a spinnerbait. And he won a couple angler years. Well, the second angler year he won was in 1986. It was on Chickamauga Lake, where I live now. And I actually drew a guy from Chattanooga, and we locked down in a nickajack, which is sort of crazy to leave Chickamauga, but back then you did that. And Jimmy Houston had a bait that was so revolutionary to all of us. I was sitting in the back of Steve Daniels' boat looking at this. Jimmy showed us this bait that he won angler year basically on, and it was a spinnerbait with 2 willow leaf blades on it. We were like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? 2 willow leaf. It was like someone invented the Senko at the time. You know, it was so revolutionary. And that one bait won him an angler year. 2 willow leaf blades. Everyone's throwing Colorado blades back then, or maybe a Colorado on a willow leaf. 2 willow leaf blades, that was a big revolutionary thing. Fast forward a couple months later, Rick Clunn wins the US Open out on Lake Mead in super clear water. Lake Mead, I don't know if you've been out there, probably haven't. Similar to Hartwell, it's very clear water, except clearer. I mean, you can see 20, 30 feet deep. Rick Clunn wins the US Open out there throwing a spinnerbait, which you can, as you make a cast 100 feet long, you watch that spinnerbait come all the way back. And the water's super clear, there's a bunch of bushes, and all he did was put a clear sparkle skirt on a spinnerbait. And that was revolutionary, okay? No one had put a clear sparkle skirt on a spinnerbait, made it look natural. Everyone always used white, chartreuse, bright colors. He changed the color of the skirt and won a major tournament. So what I'm trying to say is the history of the spinnerbait really sort of crept along throughout this process. And what has happened is that, you know, people have gotten better, people have tried different things. And, you know, back when we were fishing, a guy would get a secret like this blade, and he'd keep it. You wouldn't tell anybody. There wouldn't be any Bass U seminars telling you, hey, try this. You know, you'd hide it in your pants, you'd cut it off before you got into the weigh-in. You wouldn't tell anybody. Now, you know, if someone came out with some secret bait for a spinnerbait, you know, there'd be a YouTube video up 38 seconds later, right? We'd all know about it. So now the information has really come, you know, really full circle. You get so much more information on it. And from right there, the styles of spinnerbaits is never ending. I don't care what store you go into. I don't care if you get on any of these, the websites of spinnerbaits. You have so many styles now. And to me, a lot of it is going to be personal preference.